Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving deep into the massive, kind of hidden world of cargo ships. These are the absolute workhorses of our global economy, like a giant unseen circulatory system that keeps everything moving. So let's just start with a simple question. Have you ever wondered how all the stuff you own, your car, the grain for your bread, the phone in your hand, actually gets to you from halfway across the world? Well, the answer lies with this incredible fleet of gigantic ships, each one designed to solve a very specific problem. So here's how we're going to unpack this. We'll start with the puzzle itself, then look at the original solution, and see how all these specialized ships evolved from there. And it all leads to this one crucial decision that every single shipper has to make. Okay, so let's start with the core puzzle, right? How on earth do you move this unbelievable variety of goods, everything from a single massive piece of machinery to literally millions of tons of grain, all the way across an ocean? Well, each one needs a totally different solution. It's easy to think of shipping as just a bunch of neat, stackable containers. But the reality is so much more complex. We're talking about gigantic machinery, loose grain, cars, you name it. Global trade demands a different tool for every single job, a specialized solution for every type of cargo. All right, so let's rewind a bit and look at the foundation of it all, the breakbulk ship. For a long, long time, this was the standard. It was the original, all-purpose solution for handling just about any kind of cargo you could throw at it. So what's the big deal with these ships? Well, the key thing is they can carry this huge mix of stuff. We're talking crated machinery, vehicles, giant coils of steel, all on the same trip. The cargo is handled in individual units, or broken bulk, and that's actually where it gets its name. But as you can probably imagine, this method had some major drawbacks. It was slow, not just out on the ocean, but especially in port. Loading and unloading everything piece by piece took forever and required a ton of manual labor. And with every single item being handled over and over, the risk of it getting damaged or even stolen was way, way higher. And their flexibility really boils down to one key difference. So-called geared ships actually have their own cranes right on board. That makes them totally self-sufficient, so they can sail into almost any port, no matter how small or basic it is. On the flip side, gearless vessels have to rely on the heavy-duty cranes you only find at major, well-equipped ports. So all those flaws, the slowness, the risk, the inefficiency, they were just begging for a better solution. And that solution was an absolute game changer: the container ship. Think of these ships as dealing with the Lego bricks of global trade. I mean, it's genius, right? By putting everything into these standardized steel boxes, you protect the goods, and you make moving them between ships, trains, and trucks incredibly, incredibly efficient. This idea of standardization, it changed everything. And the scale we're talking about today, it's just mind-boggling. The modern ultra-large container vessels can carry over 24,000 of those standard 20-foot containers, we call them TUs, all at once. That's basically a floating city of cargo, all managed with insane precision. But here's the really brilliant part. It's not just about the box. The entire system is a masterpiece of efficiency. Down below deck, you have these cellular holds with steel guides that just lock the containers perfectly in place. The standard box size means they can move seamlessly from a ship to a train to a truck. That's intermodal transport. And it all operates on this global network of fixed routes, where smaller feeder ships bring cargo from little ports to the massive motherships at the major hubs. Okay, so containers are great, but what if your cargo can't fit in a box? What if your cargo is a literal mountain of raw material, like coal or iron ore or grain? Well, for that, you need a bulk carrier. Yeah, you can basically think of these things as giant floating bathtubs. Their whole purpose isn't speed. It's all about maximizing how much stuff they can carry as economically as possible. They just cruise along at a pretty slow 12 to 15 knots, moving these immense volumes of unpackaged goods. And to wrap your head around just how big these are, we use a term called deadweight tonnage, which is really just a fancy way of saying how much weight can this ship carry. The biggest of the big, called very large ore carriers, or VLOCs, can carry over 200,000 metric tons of cargo. They're so enormous they can't even fit through the Panama Canal. All right, now for some of the really clever stuff. We're going to look at two super specialized, kind of ingenious designs for cargo that, well, you can't just stack in a box and you can't just pour into a hold. First up is the ro-ro vessel. And the easiest way to picture this is as a giant, floating, multi-story parking garage. Seriously, it was designed to solve one simple problem. How do you move anything that has wheels? Cars, trucks, tractors, you name it.
And the process is just beautifully simple. You literally drive the vehicles onto the ship using a ramp. They get secured for the voyage, and then you just drive them right off at the destination. It completely eliminates the need for cranes, and it dramatically slashes the time spent in port.
Okay, but what if you need to get goods somewhere that doesn't have a big, deep port or a lot of infrastructure? Well, that's where the Lash vessel comes in with this incredibly clever workaround. It's like a ship carrying other ships on its back. This system is really one of a kind. Picture this. Cargo gets loaded onto these little barges way up a river, far from the coast. Then, the big ocean carrier meets them, lifts all the barges right on board, sails across the ocean, and then just drops them back in the water at the other end to be towed to their final stop. The main ship never even has to dock at a real port.
Okay, so we've seen all these incredible specialized ships. The big question for a shipper is, how do you choose the right one? Well, it all boils down to a critical balancing act.
And this right here, this is the aha moment of the whole thing. There is no single best ship. It's not that simple. Every single choice is a compromise, a trade-off between cost, speed, and security. You want it there fast? It's going to cost you. You're on a super tight budget? It'll probably be slower and maybe a little less secure.
This table really lays it all out, doesn't it? You can see that constant push and pull right here. A container ship, great for speed and security, but you're going to pay for it. If cost is your only concern, then a bulk carrier is your best friend, but you're definitely sacrificing speed. And you can see why that old break bulk method is really just a niche option now. For most things, it's become the most expensive and least secure choice. So the next time you're sitting in your car or you grab your phone, take a second to think about its journey. It's not just an object anymore, is it? It's a story of a specific logistical choice made somewhere out on the vast, unseen, but absolutely essential oceans of our world.